Hello there. Welcome to this virtual parent-teacher night for English 1-2. My name is Mr. Lawrence, and very excited to share a little bit about my class, a little bit about myself, and what we're going to do this year. So without further ado, let's get this going here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. Like I said, my name is Mr. Lawrence, and we'll be covering English 1-2, class of 2025. Woohoo! All right, so our agenda for today is I will do a brief introduction of myself, a little bit about my teaching philosophy, some of the course expectations and curriculum information. I'll touch on grading, the big three. Ooh, I wonder what that is, the big three. And I will provide my contact information at the end. All right, so a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Reno, Nevada. This is me at about the age of 9 playing some football. I recently earned a philosophy degree at UNR in 2019. And I'm currently finishing my master's degree in secondary education. With an emphasis of English. So I should be finishing here up in this next spring, 2022. So I'm very excited and looking forward to that. In fact, today I'm celebrating my 7th year wedding anniversary with my beautiful wife, Corey. We also have 2 kids, Zoe, who is 5 years old, and Wyatt, who is 2. So this is my first year teaching at Reno High School, and it's actually my first year teaching ever. So I'm really excited about this opportunity and very fortunate to the Reno High family that has allowed me to kind of take over a beautiful classroom and get started teaching this year. So just a fun fact about this year, I'm very excited. I'll be starting the first ever disc golf club at Reno High School. So for all you disc golf fans out there, we'll be doing that this year. And I'll be running that with Mr. Cavallo, who is a science teacher. All right, so a little bit about my teaching philosophy. Probably the most important aspect of my philosophy is I am all about building relationships, and the social emotional comes first. So I was really excited. It took me about 1 week to learn about 150 names. So that was my goal for that first week, was to learn every student's name. And I believe establishing those relationships early on is going to be very important for our students' success and my success as a teacher. I am all about empowering students. So if you walked into my classroom, I really try to embody a flipped power differential. That means that we are all teachers and students together. So maybe when you went to school, you had a teacher that stood up in the front of the classroom, told you to write things down, you would write it down, and then in a week or so, you'd be tested on it. So what we are trying to do with a lot of the new pedagogical styles is we want to make sure that our students are part of the learning process and part of the teaching process. So every opportunity I can give students to have choice in their education, I will be doing that. And also just empowering their perspectives, which are extremely important for such a diversified community. And as we continue in our academic schooling, this becomes a very important issue. So this is something that's the forefront of my teaching philosophy. If a parent ever had this to say about me, this is something I would hope to strive for, that Mr. Lawrence maintains a high level of rigor, but remains accessible to students. So in my classroom, I really want to emphasize high levels of rigor, which means that we have high expectations of mastery, but at the same time, I am still a student myself, so I get it. I've often asked my professors, hey, do you mind if I can have an extra day to write that paper? Or can I have an extension? Or hey, you know what, I'm not feeling it today. Can you work with me? So I want to be here for our students and I want to work with him. And that means that, I work extra hard outside of school as much as I'm in school. So if any student is struggling with something, make sure you have a conversation with me. Let's work together. Another thing is I really like to challenge our perspectives on why we do things. I've pretty much told all my students that you should always ask, every time you walk into my class and I ask you to do something, you should ask, why are we doing this? And I should have an explanation. No student has caught me yet of why we don't do something. And I do sincerely apologize if your teenager is asking you, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? That might be for me, or maybe just normal teenage years. But it's very important to me to critically look at why we do things in the classroom and make sure that I'm supporting the student and they're getting something out of it. So moving into course expectations, I really want to focus on getting back to basics this year. We've had a very struggle the last couple years as far as schooling and a lot of personal things. So we're looking to get back to basics this year. I want to continue to develop our reading, writing, speaking, and listening skills. So through the year, students will have a variety of projects to do. I try to make sure that we cover all the learning styles. So whether that's visual, auditory, speaking, tactile, if we build things or whatnot in the classroom. Yes, we still build things in an English classroom. So I like to get hands-on if we can and support all the different types of learning. But essentially this year, we're going to be working on getting back to basics and starting to lay the foundation once again for mastery of some of those skills. Like I said, I just want to get things back to normal, and this may take some time, but that's definitely a focus for me. Read, read, read. Now, reading does not necessarily mean, reading stuff that are out of our range. Our students have such a variety when it comes to their reading levels. So I encourage just, if you can support their reading habits at home, and even if it's just a really casual book, that's great. And also, I'm a really big Audible listener. So if our students prefer listening to Audible, I think that's just as good. So we just want to start fostering those types of activities at home. And finally, I hope we have a memorable class this year. This is really it. This is my first year of teaching. I finally am here, so I'm really looking to make this a special year for our students. And hopefully, at the end of their lives and when they're thinking about what a great experience they had at Reno High School, hopefully I'm part of that thought. So my grading policy is pretty standard as far as the grading scale. You'll see 90% to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, so on and so forth. I generally will round if it's like 0.5. So if they have an 89.7, I will round up into the A. However, anything beyond that, if they're like sitting in an 88, I probably will not round it up to an A, but I will round it up slightly if they're close. As we see on the left side with the grade weights, some of the work that we do kind of on a weekly basis, like the class discussions, tests and quizzes, vocabulary and grammar homework, those are weighted at 10% each. So they are very important, but if a student doesn't do it or if they miss a few, it's not gonna bring down their grades significantly. What will start to bring down their grades significantly is their unit work. So this is non-vocab or grammar work. This could be anything from, all of our students wrote a letter to senior self this year. So it's anything that's not really focused on vocab or grammar specifically. It'll be anything else. Where students will, I think, really see a challenge if they don't do this is going to be the writing essay portion of this class. So I am a huge believer that writing is essential to any career or any college that we go to. So we're going to be doing a lot of writing. but this is going to be broken down into the large process. So if they're not participating in class and doing the writing essays and papers at home, this will really drastically impact their grade. If they stick with the process, they do the work, they do the drafts, and they turn things in, and they do have and show some mastery, then that's going to be a really huge part of their grade. And then finally, 15% for the final exam. So that could be a summative exam of everything we've covered in the entire semester. So pretty much August through December is fair game. All this being aside, the big three in my classroom is the following. So the first thing is reflection. So coming from a philosophical degree and just being a reflective person in general, I value reflection in all aspects of my life, and especially in the classroom. So I encourage our students to continue reflecting, whether it's on their lives, their homework, their sports, extracurricular stuff. I kind of expect each student to reflect, even if it's in a basic level. These are certain muscles in our brain that we need to practice, and I think they're very important. Number two, hardworking. So no matter what your proficiency level is or your level of mastery, everyone can work hard. And if I notice that students aren't working hard in my class, certainly I will encourage them to work hard. But I'll also ask them, what's going on in their personal life. If I notice that they start dipping off or they, start not doing some of the things, that's usually an indication of something else is the issue. But I ask all my students to really work hard because that's something that's 100% in our control. Finally, I ask each student to be safe, both physically and emotionally in my classroom. So in my classroom, we're definitely going to have a lot of challenging discussions. And I do believe that having those challenging discussions helps our students learn how to speak with one another, how to compromise their beliefs, and learn about others' beliefs. So any type of hate speech or anything along those lines is really not tolerated in my classroom. And if I hear it, you can rest assured it'll be an immediate phone call home. So you see what I did there? I have RHS, Reno High School. So reflection, hardworking, and safe are my big three. Finally, here's some pictures of my classroom. So I spent about 3 weeks to a month in the summer just kind of putting some things together. It definitely is like Harry Potter themed, but for those that are not really big Harry Potter fans, I hope you can kind of appreciate some of the aesthetic. So one of the things that's really important for me is having a feel, or the kids might say like a vibe, right? I'm trying to create a very nice place to walk into, to relax, and for us to kind of get to work and feel comfortable. So I typically turn off the fluorescent lights, and we kind of have mood lighting, you might say that. These are some of my Funko Pops. I'm a huge Funko Pop fan. And I have a bunch of potions up on the shelves. So for those potions, I think one of our writing assignments are I'm going to have students name the potions and like what they do. So we're going to do some fun creative writing later in the year. For our sophomores, we're reading Lord of the Flies. And for our freshmen, we're reading Book Thief. So I'll usually put up whatever type of reading that we're doing in the class. And that's about it. So here's my contact information, matthew.lawrence@washoschools.net, which is my email. And then I have a Google number, which is 775-476-6377. If you shoot me a text or call me, if I don't get back to you right away, which I really try to do, I'll usually respond within 24 hours. And always feel free to call me if you would like to schedule a parent-teacher conference, or if you're concerned about anything, please contact me. Let's have a conversation, and we can start identifying what I can do to help it and maybe what the problem is. So anyway, thank you for watching this. I hope it was short and simple, but I am really excited about this year, really looking forward to working with your students and learning from them just as much as hopefully they'll learn from me. So have a wonderful night, and I will be around. Take care. Bye-bye.